This video is all about explaining to you step by step exactly how does movement feedback holography work. In particular, how does it work to clear the subconscious? Because after all, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So you rollerblade or you shake your hands and then you make more money, huh? I'm going to answer that for you. My name is Brent Phillips. I am the founder and creator of the Awakening Dynamic System of Energy Healing and Higher Consciousness. And we are here today with video number 5 in our series on movement feedback holography. So let's get into it. Let's explain to you how movement works and what a session looks like. Now, before we get into the details, I just want to point out, if you want to learn a lot more about movement and maybe join me for one of my online events so you can actually participate and try it for yourself, check out the description. There's some cool links there. You'll see a link to my brand new ebook I just released on movement feedback holography. You can get it off Kindle, transform your life for less than the cup of coffee at Starbucks. Also, you'll see links to some of my live events like my live Healathon webinar and maybe other movement related things, because I'm going to talk to you about the movement here in the video, do my best to explain it so you can understand it. But at the end of the day, you got to do it. You got to do it for yourself to really experience it. That trying to just talk about movement would be like to explain what kissing feels like to someone that had never kissed. How do you put words on that, right? Just kiss someone and you know exactly what it feels like. So that being said, I'm going to give it my best shot. So how does movement work to clear the subconscious? Well, first we'll look at how do sort of the more conventional systems do it. Well, most of the 2G technologies out there, things like Psych-K, emotion code, NLP, etc., hypnosis, they work on a paradigm of go find subconscious block through intuitive readings or question and answer or something like that. Test to see if it's there with muscle testing or applied kinesiology or some other process that communicates with the subconscious. And then you have some technique or process to clear a block. And you just repeat. So that's kind of the basis of how most of these modalities and techniques work. I'll just let you know, movement is not like that at all. Movement is different. But before we get into movement, I'm going to ask just a couple of very quick things. One, hit like, click subscribe. If you haven't done it yet, thank you so much. Let YouTube know you love this. Second thing, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. I aim to personally reply to every question, to every video on this channel. So let me know, have you tried some of these conventional subconscious clearings before? And if so, what's your favorite? Do you like NLP? Do you like Psych-K? Do you like emotion code? I'm just curious what you guys like. Would love to hear from you. Maybe we'll have a cool discussion. Awesome. So let's talk about movement. First thing to realize is that movement is not superior to these other modalities in every way. It's just there are certain things it can do that other things can't, and vice versa. As an example, let's say you buy a car. Cars are great. They let you drive around on roads, right? But you may be able to drive from Los Angeles to Mexico, or even Costa Rica, maybe even Brazil. But you can't drive from Los Angeles to Tokyo, or Rome, or Sydney. No, it's not the car's fault. It's just a car can't take you there. You need another vehicle. You need an airplane or a boat. But again, an airplane or a boat won't work on its own either. Because unless you live at the airport, you got to get there somehow, right? You're not going to take a boat or an airplane to the airport from your house. No. So we're going to use 2G and 3D. They're both useful. And so the 2G techs are really good for using language to focus on an issue. They're really good for a lot of health stuff. I can knock out cat and dog allergies like they're nothing. My success rate is well over 90%, but they can't do everything. Movement, by contrast, is symbolic and intuitive. It doesn't use words as much. There are words, but it's primarily an intuitive and symbolic process. And there's a couple advantages to this. Number one, it's faster. Why? At our deepest levels, we're not mental creatures with words. We're emotional creatures with feelings and pictures. Anyone that's ever done animal communication, you should have learned. First thing is, don't try to use a lot of words with animals. Send feelings and pictures. That's our native language. Feeling is the language of the soul. And so the movement feedback holography is more connected directly to our primal nature because it is symbolic and visual and intuitive. It's not a head-based process where it's all about words and imagining. That's one big difference. And because of that, Movement can address issues and obstacles that other techniques cannot. As an example, how do you work on a prenatal trauma with words? You can't, because your body didn't have words at that point. Okay, I shouldn't say it's impossible, it's just a lot harder, less effective. You can do it, but it doesn't work as well. Similarly, how do you get at things that you can't even describe in words? You can't. Or things you don't even know you have. That's a huge one. Movement can clear blocks you don't even know you have. Other techniques cannot. Why? You have to focus on the block, put it in words, see if you have it. So movement has these big advantages. So let's talk about this. What does a movement session look like? Well, first answer is go to one, right? Check the description, there's links, get your butt to one of my online events, see for yourself. I probably also have a bunch of movement videos on the YouTube channel by the time this comes out, so you might look for that too. Check the description. But I'm going to give my best description to you in words right now. So the first thing you need is a movement to do. Most of us start with what's called the handshaking. It's a very simple movement. It looks like this. You just shake your hands. That's it. Now, shaking your hands alone does not do the magic. Just like rollerblading is another great movement, but just rollerblading doesn't work. Why? There's lots of people who rollerblade every day who are not billionaires. There's lots of people that shake their hands who are not striking it rich and having amazing lives. Right? Of course. The second part is once you've done the movement, you need an expert facilitator to give you feedback, to tell you, using their symbolic intuitive abilities, what's the energy you see. As an example, you start shaking your hands and may be like, you're throwing it away, or you're throwing it over your shoulders, or you're not taking it in, or you're stiff like a robot, or you're out of relationship to your past, or any of these stories and myths. And that is just, as the facilitator, I watch your movement. I'm not really watching your body so much as the energy emanating from it. The stories you're putting out into the world, how you relate to everything. That's why this is so valuable. As an example, when I had my first movement session with Karl, he had me rollerblading in a circle by the beach, and he videotaped it, and then we sat and watched the video. I want to be clear. If I had gone on my own to the beach, rented rollerblades, gone in some circles and gone home, nothing would have happened. I mean, I might have gotten a little exercise, right? Might have burned a few calories. I might have fallen and twisted my ankle, but I wouldn't be life-changing. It wouldn't cause me to make 50 grand within 3 days out of nowhere, right? So the movement alone is not enough. You also need someone that's trained in facilitating by giving you feedback. That's the missing piece, because here's how it works. When you do these movements, essentially what it's doing is the movement doesn't create the energy, it just amplifies it. It makes it easier to see. Because all of us are constantly broadcasting to everyone around us all our beliefs, all our internal mythologies. And if you know how to read it, you can see it no matter what someone's doing. But the movement makes it easier. It's like taking a magnifying glass that makes it big and easy to read. So if I were looking at a piece of paper with small writing on it, maybe I could read it, maybe I can't. But you give me a magnifying glass, everyone can read it. That's what the movement does. It doesn't create the energies or change them. It just makes them visible. And so a trained facilitator like me can watch your movement, and it's very easy to see the code inside of you. That when you do the movements, it literally is like putting on a big screen the exact lists of myths and stories that are running your life. And here's how the healing occurs. If you're able to take it in without judgment or reaction, the myth vanishes, gone, instantly cleared. And I know that sounds crazy. I didn't believe it at first either. It made no sense. Because remember, if you've heard my story about how I met Karl and started doing movement, basically I paid $500, met this crazy old coot down on the beach, rented rollerblades, skated in a circle. He videotaped it. We watched it. He ripped me a new one. And then I went home. He didn't do anything to fix me, but he didn't have to. That's the point. The magic is in the feedback. For whatever reason, I was able to hear him that day. And when you can take in the feedback, you become aware of what you're doing and it all changes. It's just like I mentioned earlier in the series, that poor guy that went to the dating seminars couldn't get a date to save his life because he had terrible body odor. He had no idea. All it took was feedback from a coach going, dude, you stink. Go home, take a shower, put on at least 2 layers of deodorant. and he started getting dates like crazy. It's the same with everything. If you're unaware of how these myths and stories are ruining your life, they will control you. This is what my late mentor Karl used to say. The stories and myths that run your life will be invisible to you when you're at their effect. In other words, they only control you when you don't see them. Once you're aware of what's happening, they lose their power instantly. And that's exactly how this movement works. All it takes is for someone to do movement and get expert feedback, and they will start to heal and shift. It's really amazing. So we got a little more cool stuff to cover here. I do want to ask, please hit like, please hit subscribe. That's super important to me. Thank you, thank you. And also check out the description. We got links to live events. You can check out my new ebook on movement. Lots of cool stuff there. Awesome. So a few more things to say, then we'll let you get about your day. First thing to say is, it doesn't really matter that much what movement you do. There's at least 15 or 20 I learned from Karl, but he admitted they're all made up. It doesn't really matter as long as it exaggerates the energy. Now, most of my students, especially for working online, we start with the handshaking and the scooping because they're simple movements that don't require any skill, that pretty much anyone can do, that are very easy to fit in the frame of a Zoom or something like that, right? But it doesn't really matter what movement you do. So don't worry about that. Also remember, we don't do movement for money or love or health. No, you just do movement. You let your body and your higher self decide what to bring up and what to work on that day. So let go of this old idea of, oh, I have to work on this or that. No, just do movement. Your body and your higher self know much better than you what to work on. And so the last thing I want to cover is I need you to understand the natural process we go through as we're learning how to give feedback and read energy. Now, this is really important because ultimately I want you to learn how to read energy on everyone you see in your life. You go to the grocery store, you can read the cashier's energy. You'll know what's really running her. You go on a date, you can read your date's energy. It'll give you way more valuable insight into who they really are than anything on their profile. Why? The mouth lies, the mind lies, but the body always tells the truth. If you know what to look for, people will tell you everything you need to know about them just by reading their energy. But we don't get there overnight. So in stage 2, you'll be able to see the energy, but only when someone calls it out for you. As an example, let's say you and me and my buddy Jay are all doing movement, and Jay's there shaking his hands. And I'm like, hey, Jay, you're stiff like a robot. You're dancing for your dinner. You're throwing it away, whatever the myths are. And you're like, hey, wait a second. I couldn't see it on my own. But yeah, Brent, I kind of see it. I see how he's throwing it over his shoulders, or he's taking it into his heart, or he's pushing it away, or whatever the energy may be. So you'll see it, but only when it's called out for you. You keep practicing, come to more sessions, working on your own. At some point, you'll be able to do it without someone calling it out. You can just look at someone and go, hey, it's this, it's that, it's that. Even better, past that in stage 4, you don't even need them to do a special movement. You can just read their energy and doing normal things. After all, it'd be a little strange to tell your date, hey, can I videotape you rollerblading in a circle first before we meet? Of course not. That's nuts, right? If you're considering taking a new job, you can't be all, hey, buddy, I'd love to work for your company, but I want to see you and the CEO shaking their hands and let me video record it first. No, they're going to think you're nuts, right? No. That's why eventually we have to learn to read the energy without the movement exaggerating it, because that's what's going to give you a lot of benefit in your day-to-day life. But don't worry about that for now. For now, focus on where you're at and the next step forward. Watch these videos, maybe check out the ebook and the link to learn more, and get registered for one of my online events because I really want you to experience this for yourself. It's really phenomenal stuff. That's all I got to say for right now. I'll be back soon with more videos in this series. And until then, please take care and namaste.